I grew up in a pretty small town. I never got the opportunity to see tall buildings or sprawling cityscapes until I grew older and began to travel. Now, some people see cities as overwhelming, crowded, and dense. I can see where they're coming from, but I've always liked them. To me, cities are all about opportunity and possibility. You never know what's going to be around the next corner, who you'll meet, and what stories they'll tell. Now, I've always loved building cities and civilizations in gaming, and that's why I think Quadropolis is one of my favorite games that was published in 2016. Each player builds their very own city in Quadropolis. They are doing so, however, while competing with one another for the shops, parks, public services, and other structures to be placed in them. The game lasts for 4 rounds, and in each round, players first lay out tiles for the appropriate round at random on a 5x5 grid. Each player has 4 architects numbered 1 through 4, and on a turn, a player places an architect next to a row or column in the grid, and then claims the tile that's as far in as the number of the architect place. Imagine if that's how it worked in real life. You're just hanging out at your architecture firm, you get a job, you walk down the block, and that's the building you get. Mine. Be kind of weird. Players then place that tile in the appropriately numbered row or column on the player's 4x4 city board. This city's built on a grid, not rock and roll. They then claim any resources associated with the tile, whether it's inhabitants, energy, or victory points. Most buildings require resources to be activated and score victory points. In that case, a small icon is visible in the bottom right-hand corner of the building. To activate a building, simply put the required resource on it. The number of resources required to activate a building is independent from its height. Regardless of its number of floors, the building will always require the resources indicated on its top floor. When a player takes a tile, a figure is placed in this now empty space, and the next player cannot place an architect in the same row or column where this tile was located. Also, you can't place one architect on top of another, so each placement cuts off play options for you and everyone else later in the round. You never know what each player will do, so you have to be flexible. After all players have placed all 4 architects, the round ends. All remaining tiles are moved, and the tiles for the next round are laid out. After you've finished all 4 rounds, the game ends. Players can then move their inhabitants and energy among the tiles at any point to see how they can maximize their score. They score for each type of 6 types of buildings depending on how well they build their city, and the player with the most points wins. Quadropolis is published by Days of Wonder, who have had a great track record in the last few years making quality games with great components. If you are interested in building cities and civilizations of your own, appreciate great components, then you should check out Quadropolis.